Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. And today I'm going to talk about 10 of my favorite drafting games. And that was originally my intent for this video. And then I realized there's a lot of drafting games and they come in two styles. So I'm actually breaking this up into two videos, one this week, one next week. So, as you might have seen from the title already or the thumbnail or whatever, this is my 10 of my, favorite closed drafting games. So what is a drafting game, and what's the difference between a closed drafting game and the one we'll talk about next week, the open drafting game? Well, drafting game is kind of like it sounds like. Well, you draft things from a pool of other things. Generally, it's going to be cards or dice in a lot of these situations with board games, and that's what we'll look in. Closed drafting is when you basically got the information to yourself, usually a hand of cards. You're going to pick one out of and utilize that card. Open drafting that we'll look at next week is when everybody has kind of the same pool of information in front of them. And we'll talk about those games next week. This week, I want to talk about my 10 of my favorite in kind of no particular order, but I did count them down kind of based on how well I like the game and how well they meet the theme. So these aren't necessarily in my favorite order, but more in my favorite order with how well they implement the theme of closed drafting games, because a lot of games have these themes as a mechanism amongst others. Some of those games I deleted out completely, and others I kept in because I feel like the draft is still a big part of the game. So let's start with my number 10 on this list for closed drafting games. And this game is Let's Go to Japan. I've only played this once. I played it online on Board Game Arena, so I don't have a copy of it for show or whatever. And not the best memory, but in Let's Go to Japan, basically every round you're going to draw, I think it's 2 cards, and you're going to pick one to add to your trip. And then how you add them to the trip is going to be the basis of how you're going to score points, triggering icons off of icons after the set number of rounds and cards played. But this one fits the bill because, again, I said you're going to basically everybody's going to take a turn drawing 2 cards. I think it's 2, might be 3, picking one and then passing or discarding the rest of them. So it fits the bill. It's a fun new game. Let's Go to Japan. My second choice, or number 9, however you want to look at this, for closed drafting games is the Isle of Cats. In the Isle of Cats, the closed draft is the basis of setting up for the rest of the game. You're going to take a hand of cards. You're going to select, I think it's 2 at a time, and then pass the rest. Select and pass, select and pass, select and pass. And then the bulk of the game takes place based on those cards you got. In that bulk of the game is using those cards, and you have to pay for them, so you got to use resources wisely to go save cats from an island. So you need baskets to get the cats, money to afford the cats you're picking up, and you're also going to get your in-game scoring and other special objectives from this draft. So again, it's just a game where you're taking a deck of cards, taking a hand, picking a card or 2 out of it. I don't remember if it's 1 or 2, I'm sorry. And then the game goes on from there. But the draft is what sets up every round, and that's why it makes this list. Number 8, It's a Wonderful World. It's a Wonderful World is similar to the previous 2 games. In fact, a lot of these are, because it's closed draft. There's not many easy ways to do closed draft other than handfuls of cards. But I like this game because you're selecting the card out, and then that card is either going to become a building you're going to build, or it'll just become resources for you to help build the buildings you are going to build. And I like that. I like It's a Wonderful World and It's a Wonderful Kingdom, very similar games, where you're just basically building an engine from the cards you're drafting. And then you're hoping to see certain abilities, well, not really abilities, but resources you need to help you out come around, because you might just need a certain card to discard for resources. Or you might really get a meaty card you want to build because it helps your engine grow later. And I really like that push and pull of It's a Wonderful World. And that's why it's my number 8 on this list. My number 7 choice for this game is slightly different in that there's no deck of cards and no game again, because I just recently got rid of this one. It didn't really fit my needs because it plays up to 7, I think. It's a good game for strategically getting a bunch of people around the table. and that is between two cities. In this game, you're picking two tiles. Two tiles, everybody's going to have two tiles, and you're going to use those two tiles to build a city to your right and a city to your left in conjunction with the person to your right and left, because you're trying to build the best city together that you can based on the tiles you each get. So you've got two tiles, and you're going to draft one into one city, one in the other city, without knowing what your partners, your left and right, are going to do, because you're going to individually win based on which of the two cities scores the lowest. So you want both cities to score as high as possible to help you win. If this city scored me 32 and this city scored me 31, I've got 31 points. My partner to my left also has 31 points, but maybe his city to his left only has 28 points, so his score's 28. And the city to my right was 32, remember? With that partner, so he's got 32, but maybe his other city's only worth 26, so he's got 26 points. So because I built a city that's 31 and 32, I actually have the highest score. I really like that. It's a neat mechanism of drafting two tiles and placing one on either side of you to build the best, worst city you can. And that is between two cities. My number 6 favorite closed drafting game is Beer and Bread. This is a 2-player drafting game. And this one's really neat because it's a little bit of a mix of closed and open drafting. In the odd rounds, you've got a closed hand, and you're going to pick one card out to perform that action of, but you're going to pass the hand to your partner. It's a 2-player game. They're going to pass to you, so you know what each other's going to get. You know which card you're hoping to see again, but maybe they know that you've been doing that specific thing, so they're going to hate draft that card from you. And that's the neat thing about the 2-player game, is you can really keep an eye on what your opponents are doing a lot easier in a bigger player count game. So in this game, you're going to draft cards, and these cards are going to be multi-use cards, which will be a different topic for a different day, to do various actions around the board. I really just like the push and pull of Beer and Bread. And then in the even rounds, you've got an open draft that you can actually trade the cards out to use. So mostly closed draft, but there's a little bit of open draft in the even seasons of Beer and Bread. And I really like this game for a closed drafting game. And what I've chosen for number 5 is Mille Fiori. In this closed drafting game, you've got, again, a hand of cards you're passing around. And you're going to choose one and pass the rest. And then everybody's going to take the action of the card they just chose without knowing what everybody else is going to do before you see your next hand of cards coming. So you might have just set up the person to your left or right, depending on which direction you're passing that round, to do something based on the card they just took, and you didn't even know it. And I just like this game. It looks beautiful. It plays beautiful. But I really like the idea of the secret draft, of taking your actions without really knowing what the other actions are going to be around the table. And it's a lot of fun. It's better in a higher player count. It plays to 4. Not great at 2. Probably okay at 3, but 4 is kind of where the meat of this one is. But it's a good game, and I really enjoy Mille Fiori. All right, my number 4 favorite closed drafting game is a game I no longer own. It's one that got me and probably a lot of people into the hobby. It's 7 Wonders. And in 7 Wonders, you're passing 7 cards around, picking one, and playing it to your tableau, and passing the rest, doing it again and again, trying to build up your wonders by scoring various different things or taking different resources from those cards in play. You're building up your own little engine to help you score points and the things you need to build your wonder, because that's what it is. It's about building 7 wonders and scoring the most points you can. And I just really like this one. It plays to 7 again, but it plays pretty quickly. It's a nice, easy, smooth introduction game. I no longer own this one. I do own 7 Wonders Architects, because I just think that one's a little bit easier to get to the table and plays just a little bit quicker. But 7 Wonders is an old classic. Definitely one that really shows you this mechanism at play. And that's why I enjoy 7 Wonders, my number 4. All right, the game I have for my number 3 choice is Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. And this is a game, again, where you're passing a handful of cards around, taking 1 or 2 out, I think, at a time, until you get the number of cards you're going to have for the round. I don't remember what it is offhand. I think 5. And then you're going to use those cards to build ships and buildings and things that are going to help you try to score points. And I really like this game as well, because not only does it have that closed drafting system of really wanting to keep certain cards or use certain cards as you go, you're also going to be giving your opponents those abilities, and then multi-use cards again. You can build them, you can use them for resources, you can tuck them to help you make other actions stronger. And that is Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. All right, the second to last game I'm going to talk about is Stone Spine Architects. And again, take a handful of cards, you're going to draft one and pass the rest, and then you're going to use that card to help build up your dungeon. You're making a dungeon. You're the bad guy kind of to thwart the heroes trying to come into the dungeon in Dungeon Crawl. And so you're drafting cards trying to score points for what points are available for the round and for the end of the game, and to try to build that dungeon up the biggest and best you can. And I really enjoy this game. It's a lot of fun and it plays really quick. It is Stone Spine Architects. And finally, for the top spot for both fun and fitting the category, I have Sushi Go Party, or just basic Sushi Go. And you can find this game anywhere and play it with pretty much anyone. It plays pretty quick and easy. And again, it's just taking that hand of cards, playing a card down, and making sushi in front of you to score points. Each sushi type is going to score in different ways. So there's a lot of replayability, a lot of variability. I just really enjoy Sushi Go Party for the wealth of options there are. Different kinds of sushi to collect. It's a bigger box than the basic game, but just the ease of play and the ease of access for getting more and more people into my hobby. So if you're really interested in checking out how a closed drafting game can work, you want a cheap and easy and fun, Sushi Go is your option to check it out if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about when I say a closed drafting game. And that's my 10. Again, they were not super in my favorite order or whatever, but kind of in order of how well I enjoy them with how well they meet the stipulation of closed drafting games. Let me know in the comments below some of your favorite closed card or closed drafting board games. I will be back next week with open drafting games, and there's a lot more of those, at least that I've played, than the closed drafting games. So it's a little bit harder for me to whittle down. So if you want to check out that list, come back next time. And of course, thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't so you can come back and see when my videos release. I look forward to seeing you next time.